Hey there, Vikings Nation. Get ready to dive deep into the Skol state of mind. Join our host, D. Woods, as he shares his unfiltered takes on all things Vikings, from expert game analysis to player controversies and everything in between. If you love the Vikings for better or worse, then you've come to the right place. So grab a drink and let's talk all things purple and gold. This is the Skol State of Mind podcast.
Welcome to the Skol State of Mind podcast. I'm your host, D. Woods, and the Vikings defeated the Saints 19-27. And I'm going to be honest with you, the game should have never been that close. I don't know what happened, but we're going to dive into it. Josh Dobbs. I would say Josh Dobbs had another good game for the Minnesota Vikings. He had 268 passing yards, 1 touchdown, and he ran the ball 8 times for 44 yards. We're going to talk about the running game in a little bit, but let's talk about Josh Dobbs right now. So you guys already know I'm a big Kirk Cousins guy, and I really want to see what Jaren Hall, had to offer. But basically right now, the way Josh Dobbs is playing, if he can continue to be consistent and keep this play and build on this and just get better and better as the season goes, I think the Vikings might have somebody. I'm a believer right now. I want to see what happens, next week in Denver, but I'm believing in Josh Dobbs right now. Like, he's coming in, he's not making those, uncharacteristic mistakes, like he made last week. But, last week he was just traded there on Tuesday, got to the team on Wednesday, whatever. We don't want to talk about that right now. We already know what happened. But I would just say, like, Josh Dobbs' game, especially in the first half, like, he was balling. Like, he was running out the pocket, still looking down the field, finding, the open man, like, making plays, making checks at the line of scrimmage. Like, he was playing a great game, so I'm gonna get my hats off to Josh Dobbs, but I still want to see some more. Now let's talk about TJ Hockenson. TJ Hockenson had a great game today, right? He had 11 receptions, 134 yards with 1 touchdown. Now that's what I'm talking about. That's the kind of game you need from TJ Hockenson on a consistent basis. That's the kind of game that basically tells you, hey, I'm a top 5 tight end in this league. And he got the job done. Even though he went out a couple of times, with an injury, but he came back on the field. And I was on live with the guys, and I was saying, like, as a defender, when you hit a guy hard and he goes down and, you see him grimacing or whatever, but he keeps getting up, it kind of like takes the heart out that defender, because it's like, I'm giving him the biggest shot and he's still getting up, catching the ball, and he's still making plays. The game I saw from TJ today, like, it makes me feel like basically the preseason and, the offseason of him not being in training camp or whatever, not developing, catching technique or whatever it is. But it seems like now TJ Hockenson is better acclimated now. He's got the rust from the offseason off his body, and he's playing like that dude. He's playing like a top 5 tight end. He's getting the job done. And that's the thing, like, you got to think about it, like, when you have a young quarterback or a quarterback that's just learning the system, you want to have 2 things for him. Well, 3 things for him. You want to have a good defense that's going to, play good defense and turn the ball over and get an offense, more possessions, a running game, and a nice target tight end for the check down. And TJ Hockenson is doing that right now. And hey, Vikings land, we appreciate it. But let's talk about this running game. Now, in the offseason, I'm going back to the offseason. In the offseason, there's a lot of talk about, the valuation of running backs. Basically, we saw Josh Jacobs have a holdout. We saw Saquon Barkley have a holdout. We basically saw the Titans not know what they wanted to do with Derrick Henry, premier running backs in this league. Now, you guys know who've been following the channel and following me for a while that I'm real big when it comes to the running backs. Like I like to see the ball getting ran. And a lot of people don't understand, like, even though this is a passing league now, you still need consistent, you know, running game in the playoffs to actually like win games, especially like when you go up, you can lean on the running game to secure that lead, just to basically like wear another team down. And I feel like in the media, a lot of people, it's like devalue the running back position so much. Now you got what you asked for. You got what you asked for. I'm not going to go as far as say Dalvin Cook would have been a lot better on this team, because he's not doing much with the Jets right now. And y'all saw my videos before, and I talked about Dalvin Cook. I basically said, like, I never understood why Dalvin Cook was signed with the Jets, knowing that Brees Hall was going to be coming back from injury. And when he became fully healthy, it was going to cut into Dalvin Cook's carries. I mean, that's the Jets' problem right now. Let's talk about the running game from the Viking standpoint. Okay, going into this season, we didn't know if Alexander Madison could be the lead back for this offense. I mean, we kind of felt like, well, Kevin O'Connell is not going to run the same type of offense that, Mike Zimmer or, Kubiak or whoever is the offensive coordinator, during that time. They're not going to run the ball like that because Kevin O'Connell wants to pass or whatever. So we was like, okay, maybe Madison can excel within that role. Didn't really work out beginning of the season. Traded for Cam Akers, and now we know Cam Akers is going with another Achilles injury for the rest of the season. So we're like relying on Alexander Madison, Ty Chandler, Kane Wangu. I don't understand why Dwayne McBride hasn't been, activated on the active roster. But the running game, man, it's like you were up like 24 points to like 3 or whatever at a certain point in this game. And I kind of felt like the offense shouldn't have leaned on a running game to like control the game and secure the lead. But like, let's go to the stats, man. And it's just like it's telling of what this running game actually is, So let's go through it. Alexander Madison had 8 carries for 27 yards, and his longest run was for 9 yards. All right. We know he went out. I think it was a concussion injury. He went out or whatever. But this is what's crazy. Ty Chandler had 15 carries for 44 yards, and his longest was 13 yards, and he got an actual rushing touchdown. That still is our only second rushing touchdown of the season. Now, there was a point in the game where Ty Chandler came in and his first run was for 11 yards. And I was like, damn, like he got basically more yards than Madison on like one play. I'm not saying like the Minnesota Vikings should basically get rid of Alexander Madison and whatever. I just feel like he's not a lead back. He is good in the backup role. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I think now, like going forward, the Minnesota Vikings need to lean on Ty Chandler a whole lot more to secure that running back load, because I kind of feel like one of the reasons why this game got a little close was basically because the Vikings couldn't run the ball and they started to have too many 3 and outs or whatever. We're gonna get to more into the Vikings offense, in a little bit later. But that's just how I feel about it. I just feel like the running game now, it's like it needs to be tweaked one way or another. Like I understand, like there's not a lot of guys out there on the streets that can basically come in here and be a star back on this team. I said before, I really, really hope that they did something in the trade deadline to kind of help out, Josh Dobbs coming in, learning the system, and Jaron Hall being a young quarterback, so they can kind of lean on the running game. But I'm gonna do another video this week just on the running game, and I'll break it down a little bit more of the problems that I see with the running game. But let's move on. Offensive play calling. Now, a couple of weeks we haven't really had a conversation about the offensive play calling. We've been dealing with Kirk Cousins, Achilles injury, leaving the game. We've been dealing with Josh Dobbs coming in, and Jaron Hall finishing the game out. So we haven't really had a conversation about play calling. But one thing I noticed today, I kind of felt like the Vikings were back to that same old Vikings where they get started real quick and then the offense disappears. And we all thought that that was a Kirk Cousins problem, that it was Kirk Cousins checking down or whatever. But KOC, I kind of put that on you now because I kind of feel like you have to call some plays to where the offense doesn't sputter and doesn't disappear in the middle of the game. Like when I'm saying the middle of the game, it's like I feel like the first half offense played well. They were going down the field, getting first down, getting field goals, getting touchdowns, whatever. But I kind of feel like when it came to that third quarter, in some parts of the fourth, that the offense really got stagnant and they really couldn't get it done. And we got 3 and outs, at certain times, which allowed the Saints to kind of get back into this game. I understand if you do have a consistent running game, you can kind of control the lead, control the clock, bleed the clock, whatever you want to call it. But KOC, if you know that you can't run the ball like that, you got to do some swing plays, some screens, some short check down passes, something just to keep the chains rolling. So KOC, we won this game. I'm not finna bash you too much about the play calling, but it's your MO. Get it better. The next game, because you are allowing teams to get back in the games when this game shouldn't have been a blowout. Let's just be honest. I'm just gonna be completely honest with you. I ain't gonna sugarcoat that shit. But D-Flow's defense. All right. This defense is playing lights out, man. Like the way Brian Flores got these boys playing. I mean, 2 interceptions. I mean, Danielle Hunter getting the job done, with a sack. Like DJ Wanham getting in there. We had a conversation about, who do you re-sign from this defense? And it's like, man, it's like I can't see this team without Danielle Hunter, on the field. But the way D-Flow is playing, it's like, man, with the way D-Flow has these guys playing, it's like, man, you got to figure out something in the offseason to kind of keep this guy here because this is a whole new defense. They look younger, they look aggressive, they look faster. Guys are in the right spot. Guys are making plays. Open field tackles. Oh my God. I cannot say too much about open field tackles. Like you got a guy like Alvin Kamara, gets into space or whatever. Ivan Pace swallows him up, tackles him. Next play. Like last year, guys will just miss a tackle and guys keep running. Like I really appreciate what D-Flow is doing with this defense. Like I don't know where they rank right now as of top defenses or whatever, but this defense is completely different from the defense from last year. All right. Now, looking forward, the Vikings will be going to Denver to play the Denver Broncos. Russell Wilson. Let's see what they got. Now, I understand that's going to come to a game to where this team actually struggles and, whatever. So they playing good right now. Offense, has to stop disappearing in the third quarter, whatever. And just, I say like the offense has to have the mentality of just beating the shit out of guys, not basically sitting there and like letting guys come back because during this game, like the defense had Derek Carr doing completely nothing. Derek Carr wasn't doing shit the whole fucking game. And we kind of knew, like, people who know football know who James Winston is or whatever. We knew James Winston was going to come out there and sling it. And we knew James Winston was going to have some, fuck it balls, basically, where he was going to throw the ball and either the Vikings catch it or the Saints catch it. And he met his average. 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. But let's see how this defense is going to smother Russell Wilson in Denver. And I'm really interested to see what happens with Alexander Mattison, considering he has a concussion. And, Jaren Hall had the concussion last week, and he's still not clear. So more than likely, Ty Chandler might get the start. And I'm excited about that. I think Ty Chandler has more explosiveness, more pop or whatever. And I do think the Vikings should elevate Dwayne McBride from the practice squad to active roster. But it's going to be interesting to see what they do, considering Alexander Mattison might be out for that game. But let's get back to it. Looking forward, we're going to talk more throughout the week about, the Vikings, Broncos matchup. But I just want the Vikings to go in there, play a good game, play your defense, play your offense the way, is needed. And maybe we might get Justin Jefferson back or, to see what happens. So all I can say right now, Vikings got a good win against them Saints. And I'm looking forward to them continuing building on this winning streak. So you know how I'll get out of here. Skol, baby.
Thanks for tuning into the Skol State of Mind podcast. Take a beat to give us a 5-star rating and review wherever you get your podcasts. Join us next time, and don't forget to follow Skol State of Mind on all social media platforms to keep up with all the news and updates. Thanks again for listening, and as always, Skol Vikings.